In case if any audio issue from your side, just try to log out from GoToMeeting and log in with the same link. Okay, so in today's session, first we'll focus on data provider class, that is DPC class, and data provider extension class, that is DPC extension class. So here, okay, let me go back to that yesterday's project. We have created one project to just understand the fundamentals of Odata service. Okay, you can see SEGW. In SEGWT code, I think yesterday we have created one of the project like Z10AM Odata project. So you can see here, we have created like 2 entity types, 2 entity sets. In the coming days also we are going to create, this is created just to make you understand fundamentals before we start the actual project. So yesterday we have created entity types, entity sets. Each entity type contains its own fields. Each entity type contains its collection of fields. They are nothing but properties in Odata service level. Okay, so here, not only that, we have understood how to generate runtime artifacts. This is empty folder, but we have selected this red color icon to generate runtime artifacts. So that is what we have done yesterday. And let us understand the behavior of DPC class and DPC extension class. These are auto-generated classes. Let us understand what exactly these classes contains. So technically, if you go to DPC class, so in DPC class, you can see there will be several methods here. So if you scroll down, you get several methods like this. Mainly, the CRUD queue methods are generated here. You can see on first entity set, EMP set, 5 CRUD queue methods are generated here. On second entity set, flight set, 5 CRUD queue methods are generated here. So this is technically DPC class is a super class. Initially, the framework will generate all the 5 CRUD queue methods for every entity set inside this class. Every entity set contains 5 CRUD queue methods inside this class. The framework will generate these methods initially here in DPC class. Okay, so what I can say is data provider class So this DPC class technically contains 5 CRUD queue methods that is generated by Odata service framework. We are not creating this class. It is a class generated by Odata service framework. And this is technically a super class. For data provider extension class, this is a super class. So data provider class acts as a super class for data provider extension class. Data provider class is generated by Odata framework. We don't create directly. And the most important here is data provider class contains CRUD queue methods here. Contains 5 CRUD queue methods for each and every entity set. There will be 5 CRUD methods for each and every entity set. So initially they are generated in DPC class. That means they're methods generated automatically by the framework inside the superclass. That means DPC class. Now let us understand what exactly is data provider extension class here. Okay, so here you can see every time. So technically I can say, if you follow this diagram, then it will be much simpler. So first DPC class is generated, that is generated as a superclass. And this DPC class contains what? It contains these methods like based on entity set. Based on entity set, but create entity method will be generated. One second, let me just. Based on entity set, create entity method is generated here. Based on the same entity set, other methods like get entity method is generated by the framework. Based on entity set, update entity method is also generated here. Based on entity set, delete entity method is generated. And based on entity set, get entity set method is also generated here. So every entity set technically contains these 5 CRUD methods, initially generated by the framework in DPC class itself. So let us put it like this. Now, not only that, SAP will generate some collection of interfaces. Not only DPC class, SAP will internally generate some collection of interfaces by default when you generate runtime artifacts. Like interface, for example, I1 and interface I2 and interface I3, etc. A collection of interfaces are also generated by the framework when you generate runtime artifacts technically. Okay, let us make it like this. Interface I1, interface I2. And not only that, I can say each interface internally contains some methods. The framework will generate some generic methods here. It will generate something like create stream. That's a generic method that is generated here in interfaces. Get stream is a method that is generated here. Execute action, that method is generated here. So in interfaces, the methods are automatically generated by the framework. These are generic methods that will be generated. And if you go to interface I2, it also contains some methods like, for example, create deep entity. There is create deep entity method that will be generated here. And not only that, get expanded entity, that method gets generated here. So collection of generic methods will be generated in various interfaces that is done by the framework itself when you generate runtime artifacts. So when you generate runtime artifacts, several classes like this and several interfaces, and in each there will be some collection of methods like this. And finally, after generating all these things, it will also generate DPC extension class, that is data provider extension class. After generating collection of interfaces, after generating DPC class, finally it will generate data provider extension class. That is technically DPC extension class. So inside this class, okay, let me write it here, data provider extension class. Okay, so when this class is generated, it will try to inherit and implement all the above options. So you can see this super class, that means DPC class will be inherited into DPC extension class. This is also done by the framework. These are all internal things, but better to know it. Before we start writing our code, better to know what is what. So the framework itself will inherit this DPC class into DPC extension class. This inheritance is applied by the framework. So that means technically I can say the methods available in this DPC class will participate here. That means it will be inherited here. Very simple. So what all methods available in DPC class will be inherited into DPC extension class because of SAP applies inheritance internally. And not only that, DPC extension class also implements this one or many interfaces here. Tries to implement one or many interfaces. So for example, interface I1 is implemented inside DPC extension class. That means the methods of interface I1 will participate here. Methods of interface I1 will participate here, and it will participate with something like an option like this. Here you can see interface I1, that's a prefix symbol, and then you'll get the method name. For example, create stream method. Similarly, interface I1, there will be a special symbol like this, then get stream method. And then interface I1, special symbol, and then you'll get execute action method. And not only that, it tries to implement this one, interface I2 into DPC extension class. So interface I2 also will be implemented inside DPC extension class. This is done by the framework itself. So that means technically I can say these methods of interface I2 also will participate here in DPC extension class from here to here. But it will participate with prefix as interface I2, special symbol, then that method available in that interface. For example, create deep entity method. And interface I2, and special symbol, get expanded entity method, that will participate here. Methods of interface I2 will participate like this. And not only that, as a developer, if required, you can add some custom methods here. Okay, not only this, as a developer, if required, we can add some custom new methods. That is possible. Custom method 1, custom method 2, something like this. So that means when you generate runtime artifacts, first this DPC class will be generated, then one or many interfaces will be generated, and finally data provider extension class will be generated. All these things are done by Odata service framework on generating runtime artifacts. Same like what we have done yesterday. And this DPC extension class is provided for developer so that you can redefine the methods and you can implement those methods. Okay, so technically I can say so these are the first 5 methods there because of DPC class. And the next 3 methods, these are because of interface I1. Just for our understanding, we are making like interface I1 methods. And these are the methods of I2, interface I2. And then there will be custom methods if required. So you can create custom methods if required. So that is done by developer here. It's not mandatory, but if required, we can have custom methods here. That means technically this DPC extension class should be utilized by developer in order to redefine these methods, and you can implement those methods here. And whatever you want, you write with respect to database functionalities. The screens will be developed in the front-end side. At Odata level, DPC extension class plays an important role. DPC extension class contains the combination of all these things here. DPC extension class is a combination of methods from DPC class, methods from multiple interfaces. And if you want, you can have custom methods. It's a combination of all these things here. So let me write that note. Data provider extension class, that is DPC extension, is also generated by Odata service framework. We don't create this class explicitly or manually. It is generated by Odata service framework. And this data provider extension class is technically a subclass. Is a subclass for data provider class. And data provider extension class. Data provider extension class contains below options. That is like methods inherited from DPC class. Which methods will be inherited? 5 CRUD Q methods will be inherited from this particular class of each entity set. Plus, it contains methods from multiple interfaces. Those methods also will participate here. They are basically generic methods here. Plus, there will be methods newly created by developer. Methods newly created by developer. But technically like custom methods here. Okay, so here, as a developer, all our database operations are implemented in DPC extension class. If you want, you can implement all your database operations inside DPC extension class. But how to do that? That is just by redefining the methods. That is important here. Whichever method you want to implement, just redefine the method in DPC extension class, and then you can write your database functionality through that class. So that is the approach we have to follow in Odata ABAP service development. So here, okay, let me just simply repeat here. First, DPC class will be generated with 5 CRUD methods, and interface I1 will be generated with some generic methods. Interface I2 also will be generated with some generic methods. And finally, DPC extension class will be created by the framework. And DPC class will be inherited into DPC extension class here. And DPC extension class also will take methods from interfaces like I1 here. And DPC extension class will also take methods from interface I2 here. And if you want, you can implement custom methods here. If you want, you can implement custom methods here. So finally, developer point of view, DPC extension class plays an important role. Whatever database functionalities you want to implement, you implement via DPC extension class, just by redefining these methods according to requirement. So let me write a simple note here. Developer can redefine a method in DPC extension class and implement database functionality as per requirement. So developer can redefine a method in DPC extension class, and he can implement database functionality according to requirement. So that is one thing that you need to remember here. This is important for us. So that means we don't write code in interfaces. We don't write code in a superclass. Whatever code you want to write, you write it via a subclass, that is a DPC extension class. Okay, let me save this. So let me just simply repeat. Data provider extension class finally contains methods inherited from DPC class. That means 5 CRUD methods will come from that class. And it contains methods from multiple interfaces. They are generic methods. And if you want, you can create new methods. They are custom methods here. And this class will be provided to you so that you can redefine and implement your logic. Now, let me just show this practically. What exactly is happening? Let me go to DPC extension class here. So DPC extension class if you go to properties, in properties, you can see DPC extension class contains a superclass as DPC class. This is done by the framework. Okay, let me take this screenshot. So DPC extension class is generated by framework, and this DPC extension class contains a superclass that is DPC class. You can see that. So one is subclass, another is superclass. DPC extension is subclass, DPC class is superclass. So here, so just remember this. Right, so not only that, if you go to interfaces section, in interface section, you can see DPC extension class is trying to implement several interfaces here according to framework. The framework will inject several interfaces here inside DPC extension class. So that's also done by the framework. Let me just take this screenshot. We are trying to understand the background of this DPC class and DPC extension class. So this DPC extension class will also inject various interfaces here. These are all collection of interfaces. You can see that. I just called it as interface I1, I2, I3, but you can see several interfaces will be available. You need not remember all these names, but you should have just basic idea of what is what. So the point here is collection of interfaces are injected into this DPC extension class. Okay, so now when you go to methods tab, when you go to methods tab, you can see there will be several methods finally available here. So first, let me take the screenshot of this. So here you can see there will be methods like this. EMP set contains create entity, delete entity, get entity set, and update entity. Similarly, flight set is one of the entity set. It also contains create entity, delete entity, get entity set, update entity. But technically speaking, these are the 5 CRUD queue methods for each entity set is inherited from DPC class into DPC extension. That is one thing you need to remember. Okay, so inside DPC extension class, I can say you will find methods, 5 CRUD queue methods for first entity set here. We have created 2 entity sets yesterday. So first entity set contains 5 CRUD queue methods. They are coming from DPC class technically. And there will be 5 CRUD queue methods available for second entity set also. This is also coming from DPC class into DPC extension. So the point here is very simple. Every entity set contains 5 CRUD queue methods. They are initially created in DPC class and they will participate here. They're initially created in DPC extension class, and finally they will participate in, they're created in DPC class, but they'll participate in DPC extension class in this case. Let me just complete this. So these are cut cube methods of entity set, that is EMP set. And then these are 5 cut cube methods of flight set entity set. So the point here is very simple. Initially, these methods are generated in DPC class, but they will participate in DPC extension class finally. Okay, not only this, let me save this first. Cut cube methods of DPC class inherited. They are inherited into DPC extension class. Now, when you scroll up, you can see not only cut cube methods, there will be some generic methods. These generic methods comes from interfaces, one or many interfaces here. So you can see something like create stream is one of the generic method. Execute action is one of the generic method. And get expanded entity is one of the method. So there will be some generic methods that also will participate here. Okay, so let me take this screenshot. So this DPC extension class contains methods participating from one or many interfaces. Like get stream is one of the generic method. It comes from an interface here. Some interface name is available here. How to recognize? You can see there is a special symbol. There is a special symbol. That means these are the methods participating from interfaces into DPC extension class. So this is a background knowledge that you should have before we write our coding. So get stream, execute action, and you can see get expanded entity. Then there is create stream, etc. So methods from different interfaces will participate. You can see create deep entity also. So all these are various generic methods. These generic methods comes from one or many interfaces, and it will participate in DPC extension class. Okay, so these are technically interface related methods. Let me just highlight somewhere here. Interface methods will participate inside DPC extension class. Various interface methods will participate inside DPC extension class. Okay, let me write it here. Interface methods participates inside DPC extension class. That's what I said here. Methods from DPC class are inherited here, and methods of interfaces are also participating here. So just now I shown you by opening those classes. So this diagram is very important. And if you want, you can create custom methods. That's also possible. So here you can see, you can just click on change. And if you want, you can add some custom methods here, like custom method 1, 2, etc. So if required, you can create custom methods, and these custom methods can be accessed from other methods which are above here. You can create a number of custom methods, and these custom methods can be accessed inside the other methods. Method 1, method 2, method 3. Like that, you can create a number of methods, and those methods can be accessed from other methods of this DPC extension class while implementing your database functionality. And if you want to implement code inside these standard methods, all these methods are basically considered as standard methods now. So if you want to write some code here, just you have to redefine. Place cursor and click on redefine. Okay, so you can see there's a redefine symbol. Let me just highlight this. In DPC extension class, to write any database functionality, place cursor and write your database functionality by redefining that method. You can place cursor on a method and then click on this icon, that is to redefine. If you want to undo, you can undo redefinition. This is to redefine, this is to undo redefinition. If you change your mind to undo, then you can select this. So this is like redefine, and this is to undo redefine. So basically, let us focus on this. So place cursor on a method, then what you can do is redefine the method and implement your database functionality. We don't write screen related code anywhere here. Screen related code will be implemented in the front end side, that is UI5 and Fiori. Only database operations we are going to implement in Odata service. Okay, so that's how you can redefine the method before you implement database functionality. So these are some of the basic things that you need to know before we proceed further. So one is superclass, another is extension class, that is subclass. So as a developer, all your database operations are implemented via DPC extension class just by redefining the methods. You can redefine 5 CRUD methods and implement the code, or you can redefine generic methods and implement the code, or if you want, you can create custom methods, and you can access custom methods in the above 2 methods. So that is how we are going to proceed further, especially in Odata side. Now, not only that, here you can see, according to yesterday's session, as I told you, model provider class contains below options. Yesterday I've covered this point. For every entity set, for each and every entity type, there are two options generated by Odata framework. One of the option is table structure, TS, table type TT. So TS means, for example, if the entity type is EMP, then you'll get TS EMP and TT EMP. If the entity type is flight, then you'll get table structure flight, table type flight. So according to entity type, every entity type contains two options inside model provider class. Yesterday we have discussed this. So let us make it like this. Table structure for entity type. And this is like TT, that is table type for entity type. Okay, if anyone is new in this session, just let me go back and give some clarity here. So let me go to MPC class. MPC class contains type section here. MPC class contains type section. In type section, you can see every entity type contains two options, two types, table type and table structure. For every entity type, these two options will be available. We have created two entity types. So every entity type contains again two options here. So that means table structure for entity type, table type for entity type. So what we can do is we can use table structure of MPC class for declaring work area. We can use table structure of MPC class in order to declare work area. Work area is for holding single record at runtime. While writing the code, this is required. Similarly, we can use table type of MPC class for declaring internal table. And this is for holding collection of records at runtime. But what is the syntax for declaring work area? What is the syntax for internal table? How you do it in Odata level? Let us understand that. So here, the syntax to declare work area in Odata service level. So what you can do is you can use a data statement here. For example, work area WA1. Example type, and you need to provide MPC class name here. Every project contains MPC class, so you can provide MPC class name. Equals arrow mark. Then you have to use table structure. For example, table structure EMP. Data statement. For example, work area 2. You can use type. You can use, for example, type keyword. MPC class name you have to use. And equal arrow mark, then table structure, for example, table structure flight. So this is syntax. You can use it in our Odata services for declaring work area 1, work area 2, etc. by referring to MPC class here. Because MPC class contains table structures, so that can be utilized while writing the code for declaring work areas. Why work area? Work area is for holding single record at runtime. While writing the code, that is required. Similarly, there's a second syntax. Syntax to declare internal table in Odata service. So we can use data statement, internal table. For example, itab1. You can use type to provide MPC class name equal arrow mark. Then you have to use table type, TT. Table structure is for work area, but TT, that is table type, for example, EMP, that is for internal table declaration. You can use data statement itab2 type. You can use MPC class name equal arrow mark and then table type, for example, flight. Table type flight. So this is a syntax you can use for declaring internal tables, itab1, itab2, etc. by referring to MPC class table types. And not only that, we can use a simple variable also in Odata service by referring to MPC class. So that is syntax to declare simple variable in Odata service. So here you can use, for example, country type. You can use MPC class name. MPC class name equal arrow mark. Then you can use table structure EMP hyphen country, that field name. So you can declare one simple variable with type by referring to MPC class name, table structure, and hyphen field name. That is possible. Similarly, you can use data statement. For example, salary is a simple variable. You can use type MPC class name equal arrow mark, then table structure EMP hyphen that field name. Salary is one of the field. So you can use MPC class table structure hyphen field name for declaring simple variables like this. MPC class table structure hyphen field name. MPC class table structure hyphen field name. That can be used as a syntax to declare your local and simple variables in your Odata service methods. So these things we are going to use in our coding while writing the database operations. Now, not only that, when we write our Odata service with database operation, there are some ABAP statements which can be used inside Odata service development. There are some ABAP statements which cannot be used. So there are some ABAP statements which can be used in Odata, and there are some ABAP statements which cannot be used. Even if you use, it won't work. So what are the statements that can be used and which statements cannot be used? So let us understand that. So ABAP statements which are non-screen specific. ABAP statements which are non-screen specific. ABAP statements which are non-screen specific statements can be used inside Odata. There are ABAP statements which are screen specific. Screen specific statements that cannot be used in Odata. So non-screen ABAP statements, you can use it in Odata. Screen-specific ABAP statements, you cannot use it in Odata. Why screen-specific ABAP statements cannot be used? Because our screens will be developed in UI and Fury, not in Odata. Our screens are developed by using UI5 Fury technique, not by using ABAP technique. Only for ABAP database operations, we can use it. Non-screen specific, you can use it in Odata. But screen specific ABAP statements, we never use it in Odata because our screens will be developed in UI5 and Fury. Okay, so here, okay, let me highlight this. ABAP statements, that means non-screen statements which can be used in Odata. For example, select query, it's a generic statement. You can use it in Odata. Select query, that's a normal statement. It's a non-screen ABAP statement. You can use it in Odata. Insert statement, it's a database operation, non-screen ABAP statement. You can use it in Odata. Delete, update, modify. So these are all non-screen specific. That means non-screen ABAP statements, you can use it in Odata development. Similarly, for example, there is move statement, move corresponding. So these are general statements, non-screen ABAP statements. So you can use it in Odata services. Similarly, sort keyword, you can use it in Odata. Clear, refresh, clear statement, sort statement, refresh statement. You can use it in Odata. They're normal statements. It's not related to any screen. They're non-screen statements of ABAP, but can be used in Odata service. Similarly, there can be work area operations. You can use it in Odata. Internal table operations. You can use it in Odata. Work area operations, internal table operation, they are normal. They are not related to any screen. So you can use it in Odata service. Similarly, commit work, roll back. So these are also normal ABAP non-screen statements, so you can use it in Odata. And then if, and if, case, end case, loop, end loop. So these are all general statements. These are all normal ABAP non-screen related statements. So you can use it inside Odata ABAP service development. There won't be any problem. So any statement which is not related to ABAP screen, those statements you can use it in Odata service development. Screen related things we are going to develop in UI5 Fury, not by using ABAP technique. Okay, not only that, there is S11, that is data dictionary here. Data dictionary, that is, you can use database tables in Odata service. You can use structures in Odata service development. You can use views. You can use table types, etc. So these are all non-ABAP screen related statements. Non-screen ABAP statements from S11 that can be used in Odata development. They're general. Database table structures, views, table types, they're general, not related to any ABAP screen. So you can use it in Odata. Similarly, string operations. String operations like concatenate, condense, translate, translate to uppercase, lowercase, etc. Replace, shift, and split. So this type of normal string operations, they are not related to screen. They are not related to any ABAP screen. They are generic statements, so you can use it in OData service development. They are normal string operations, not specific to ABAP screen. So comfortably you can use whenever, wherever required in OData. Concatenate, condense, translate, replace, shift, split, etc. Similarly, there are some system fields, standard system fields like DBCNT, database count, index, uname, sy hyphen, that's language, datum, that's for date, UZEIT, that's for time. So database count, index, username, language, datum, that is date, time. UZEIT is time. So these are the normal system fields. They are not specific to any ABAP screen. They are not specific to any ABAP screen. So this type of system fields, you can use it in OData ABAP service development also, wherever, whenever required. Similarly, call function, that is function module, RFC or a BAPI. So any function module, RFC or a BAPI, which is not relevant to any ABAP screen, so those function modules, those RFCs and BAPIs can be used inside OData service development. Any function module, RFC or a BAPI, which is non-ABAP screen statement, so that can be used in OData. Similarly, SC24, that's one T code. It's for class builder. SC24 class builder, it contains classes and methods. So any class, any method which is not related to ABAP screen, those things can be used inside OData service development. Any class or any method which is not relevant to ABAP screen, those things can be used inside OData. So all these things are generic statements which are non-ABAP screen related statements. Non-ABAP screen statements. All non-ABAP screen statements from ABAP can be used inside OData services. Now, what about ABAP screen related statements? ABAP screen related statements. So those things cannot be used in OData services. What are those? Let me just highlight some of those things. For example, call screen number 200. Call screen number, for example, 200. So this is to access an ABAP screen. It's not applicable inside OData. We develop our screens in UI5 Fiori. We call our UI5 Fiori screens in a different manner, not by using ABAP screen statement. Of course, we are going to develop screens in UI5 Fiori. Our approach will be different from normal ABAP screens related approach. So we don't use call screen, for example, 200 by using an ABAP syntax. We use navigation, we use screen to screen navigation with a different technique. But call screen 200, that is like an ABAP syntax that's not applicable for OData. And call transaction, for example, VH01. So call transaction, it is going to call an ABAP transaction screen. So that you should not use it inside OData. We have to use a different technique from UI5 Fiori. We have to use URL. We have to use URL based transaction code, not directly calling transaction code through GUI. So this is going to access ABAP screen technically, so it's not applicable for Odata. We're going to achieve this in UI5 Fiori with a different approach. And something like selection screen from normal ABAP. Selection screen is an ABAP related screen related statement. So it's not applicable for Odata. And select options. Select options is related to ABAP screen once again. It's not applicable inside Odata. So instead of selection screen, we are going to use Fiori elements like list report. Then you'll get select options automatically. Select options is possible in UI5 Fiori also by using Fiori elements. But we don't use select options from ABAP syntax. We don't use this. The feature is achieved in UI5 Fiori also by using Fiori elements, but we don't use ABAP select option statement here. Because it select options, this is an ABAP screen related statement. So not applicable for Odata. That's why hyphen list index or line selected. Line selected or list index. So these are all again referring to ABAP screens. So they are not applicable for Odata. So anything related to ABAP screen, those things you should avoid in Odata. You should not use it in Odata services. Why? Because our screens are developed in UI5 Fiori with a different approach. Our UI5 Fiori screens are browser based. You can access from any browser, from any device. And they are lightweight screens. Okay, let me write that conclusion here. Okay, please remember that our training will concentrate on how to deal with interviews, how to deal with certification, plus how to work in real time. So we have to combine all these things. Then we have to proceed in our training. That's the reason why our duration is more. If you want me to take a practical example directly, then we can directly kickstart with that. But you cannot completely succeed with that. So our training should target interviews, it should target certification, as well as it should target how to work in real time as well. So it's a combination of all these things. That's the reason why we'll go step by step. So the conclusion here is all ABAP generic statements, that means non-ABAP screen statements, can be used inside Odata services. But ABAP screen related statements cannot be used inside Odata. Because, what's the reason? Why ABAP screen related statements cannot be used in Odata? Because our screens are developed using SAP UI5 and Fiori framework. Our screens are developed in the front end by using UI5 Fiori framework. We are not going to use ABAP screens. We are not going to use module pool screens. So what is the advantage? What's the advantage of using UI5 Fiori framework for screen development? Let me just highlight here. Advantages of developing screens using SAP UI5 Fiori framework. Let me just highlight 4 to 5 important points. So here SAP UI5 Fiori screens SAP UI5 free screens are device independent. UI5 free screens are device independent. That means you can access UI5 free screens from all devices. Okay, mainly desktops, laptops, tablets, mobile, etc. UI5 free screens are device independent. That means we can access UI5 free screens from all devices, desktops, laptops, tablets, and mobile. You can't access a web screen from a mobile. That's a serious problem in present scenario. That's the reason why UI5 free is recommended in that situation. And SAP UI5 free screens are browser independent. UI5 free screens are browser independent. That means we can access UI5 free screens from all browsers, all types of browsers. Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Google Chrome, etc. i.e. Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Chrome. You can access UI5 free screens comfortably from any browser, so they are browser independent. And not only that, SAP UI5 free screens are lightweight screens. Don't forget this. Lightweight screens. That means UI5 free screens consume less memory and less time to load. They consume less memory, less time to load. They're faster. That's the reason why we call it as lightweight screens here. And SAP UI5 free screens are executed always at client side. The code related to UI5 free screens. SAP UI5 free screens code is executed at client side, not in the server. It is executed just within the browser, not in the server, except database operations. Because so SAP UI5 free apps are stateless applications. Performance is also much better. Or it can be best compared to normal app. So because of these advantages, we have to go with UI5 free screens instead of using ABAP screens. UI5 free screens are device independent, browser independent, lightweight, and the code of those screens are also executed at client side within the browser. So performance is much better, and it is executed in browser, so we call it as stateless. So these are some of the advantages of using screen development using UI5 free. Only database operations, you have to write it in the backend, that is in Odata service. Okay, let me add some more fundamentals here before we develop actual projects. So here, for example, if I go to service maintenance, let me take some other example here. So say suppose if I go to service maintenance here, service maintenance contains gateway client. Now it opens this input and output screen to test your Odata service. For example, if I select this one, metadata here, $metadata. So when you select $metadata, you'll get the list of fields, data type, length, list of entity types, list of entity sets, everything will be available here. So if you closely observe this, I've taken a different service. So this service contains metadata. So if you want to get metadata, you can use $metadata in the URL. So what is a key field? What is the entity type? What are the list of fields? And what are the entity sets? And what is the total service URL? This is the overall service URL here. You can see this. When you're testing from within the SAP environment, you need not provide server name and port number. When you're testing the same service from external browsers or other applications, then the complete URL with server name, port number is required. Okay, so let me just write it like this. Fully qualified domain name URL, that is FQDN URL. So every Odata service contains below service URL syntax. That is this one. Let me copy that syntax. This is how every service contains this. HTTP, server name, port number, service path, namespace, and the service name. So every Odata ABAP service basically contains this type of URL syntax. The first one is protocol, the second is server name, third one is port number, this is the service path, and then this is the namespace, and the last one is service name. So here, let me just classify all these things. First one, in the service URL, this is protocol. In our case, ehp7.training.com, that's a server name. Server name. Then 8007, in our case, this is a port number. And then SAP OPU Odata. SAP OPU Odata, that's a service path. For all Odata services, even in real time, this remains same. SAP OPU Odata, that's the service path. Then there is another folder, that is SAP. That is namespace here. Namespace inside that server. And the last one, this is our service name. Odata service name. So if you combine all these things, technically we call it as FQDN URL. The combination of all these things, in general, in simple words, we call it as FQDN URL. That is fully qualified domain name URL. To execute Odata services, this syntax is required from SAP point of view. That is fully qualified domain name. All the above options of URL is technically considered as something like FQDN URL. That is fully qualified domain name. Now, when we test Odata services within the SAP server, then directly you can use this last three. If you're testing Odata service within the same server, then you can use this. Last three options. If you're testing OData service from outside external application or from an external browser, then all these 6 options are required, including port number, server name, and protocol. This also required. So it all depends whether you want to test OData service within the SAP server, or you want to test OData service from external server or external system or an external application or an external browser. Then the entire path is required. Okay, let me just write it here in simple words. When we test OData service within SAP system, that means by using gateway client, then only this is required. Directly service path namespace and server name. Sorry, service name. Service path namespace and service name. That is enough when you're testing OData service within the SAP system. When we test OData service from outside SAP system, that means a browser or REST client, third-party add-ons, SAP UI5 or Fiori app, the .NET app, etc. When we test OData service from outside SAP, that means like, for example, from external browser, REST client, third-party REST client, or SAP UI5 app, Fiori app, or a .NET app, then we have to use a complete path. Okay, so these are the things that you need to remember before we start writing the code. I'll stop here. If you have any doubts, you can ask me.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, what's your doubt?
Doubt means once again we install the GUI. How we are going to connect the OData, sir? Because there is the normal process.
First install SAP GUI, then use the username password. I think yesterday I sent that.
Yeah, I already done, sir. This part.
We are going to use SEGWT code.
Okay.
After 1 or 2 sessions, we are going to use SEGWT code and we are going to create OData service from scratch level. We are going to do that.
So then it will be connected, sir, correct?
Yeah. So here, just try to install that SAP GUI. If you install SAP GUI,
I have done, sir. Yes.
Then you have to configure all the properties, connection properties here.
Everything I done, sir. Everything done.
If everything is done, then just double click that and then log in with the details.
Yeah. After opening this.
After opening, then we are going to use. Then we are going to use SEGW here. From there, we are going to navigate to Gateway Service Builder. Here, we are going to create all our OData ABAP service projects.
Okay. Because your screen is showing OData, you clicking there. That's why I'm asking in my system, not saying. Only your system is showing like that.
No, the description can be anything, boss. This description can be anything.
There was is coming. No? That's why I think why like that. Okay.
You can provide XYZ server here. It doesn't matter. That's just a description.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah, next down. Okay, so I think you're confused with the description. But port number, host name, those things should match. System ID, server IP address, those are mandatory. That should match. Yeah, next down.
Hello.
Yeah.
Gaurav here. Sir, if we create two entity types, okay, and then it will create two entity set. But for these two entity types, for these two entity set, there will be single DPC and DPC extension class, or there will be two DPC and DPC extension class.
No, no, no. For every project, you create n number of entity sets. It doesn't matter. You can create n number of entity types or n number of entity sets in the same project. But every project contains only one DPC class and one DPC extension class.
Okay.
Got
Okay,
it?
sir.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So for every entity type, for every entity set, there is no separate DPC class, separate DPC. It's not like that. You create whatever entity types you want, n number of n types, n number of entity sets, but in that project, only one DPC class, only one DPC extension class will be available. One act as superclass, one acts as subclass. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, next down.
Hi Vijay. Vijay, how can we apply if we see in backend we have select options, right? So how can we write like that in front end? If
We have to
we
use field elements. I think you are asking the same question from long time. So this select options, if you want to have selection screens for so those type of selection screens for input and table for output. So for these type of things, select options, selection screen for input, table for output. For these things, we have to use SAP Fiori element. That is like you can use list report element. So that example also will come across. The example we are going to discuss, list report Fiori element. In that, automatically you'll get whichever fields you want, you can add it in select options, and whichever fields you want, you can put it in output table.
okay, so we cannot apply in work list.
In worklist template, you can achieve, but there you have to write a lot of code. That's the reason why this list report field elements are provided.
Okay.
For normal generic scenarios, where we use select options, basically we use select options mainly for reporting purpose. Okay, so that's the reason why list report field element is specialized in doing that.
Okay, so in this like select option, we have external box also will come, like include
So
single
here,
input values.
okay, let me just show you something like sample screen here. Let me just check where exactly it is. Class notes. Okay, so let me directly go to that screen, sample screen. Okay, so here you can see, this is how you will get it. When you open that, then you will get a lot of other options. So this is a table output, you'll get selection screen input. In selection screen, you will have selection field on country. When you press F4, you'll get again equal, greater than, between, starts with, ends with, you'll get several operators here. So one is selection screen for input, table for output. So this type of combination we are going to have with list report. Something like here, when you select, here you can see, in this case, so here you can see country is one of the field that is available in select options. We have used equal to India. And here you can see we have used salary here as part of selection screen. Here the salary between 40,000 and something like 99,000. When you click filter go, then you'll get the table according to that. So this type of selection screens are by default enabled when we use list report field element. Here you need not write any lot of code here. That's the reason why, to avoid lot of code, we are using field elements, especially for reporting point of view, that list report element is given. So you can have selection screen. When you press this one, you'll get all types of operators: equal, greater than, less than, between, low value, high value, everything. After adding the value, for example, low value is 40,000, high value is 99,000 for salary. So those records will be displayed here according to that. So this type of screens are developed by using Fiori element, not by using Fiori worklist template. If you want to add this, then you have to use a normal approach like this one. SAP Fiori worklist template. If you want, you have to write a lot of code. So to avoid that complexity, SAP has provided a generic template that is nothing but in the form of Fiori element, that is list report element. So what we can do is we can create one CDS view with UI annotations. In those UI annotations, you can mention what type of select option fields you want and what type of output fields you want, and then you can access in the front-end Fiori list report element. So that means you can avoid a lot of code inside worklist template. Especially SAP recommends you to go with select options and table for reporting purpose. For other things, for normal approaches, then you can directly go with a multi-input. I think we have done this multi-input in our Fiori app. You can use multi-combo box. So this type of things, you can use it for your regular templates here. Input for SAP Fiori worklist templates like this. Here also you can have inputs here. Input is common, but what you can do is you can use this type of screens: multi-input screen element, multi-combo box screen element, date picker. So these things will act as your normal screen elements for input purpose. If you want exactly same like your normal ABAP, then go for SAP Fiori element instead of using worklist template. And worklist template is recommended for normal applications like insert, delete, update, transactional applications, for those type of things. So whenever you want select options for input and table for output, the most easiest way is to use SAP Fiori list report element, because that Fiori element is given for that reason, to avoid coding inside these templates. And this Fiori list report is for reporting. It's specialized in reporting activity, where you can have screen with both options by default, just with minimum coding. Just with less code in CDS Odata service, we can achieve SAP Fiori screens with backend UI annotations here. Using annotations, we can get that. So here you can see, okay, let me go back to that screen, which we are going to discuss anyhow. So here, when we go to CDS part, then you'll understand this. So in CDS part here, you can see, where is that? Okay, let me check. Okay, so here in CDS code, we are going to use UI.selection field. Then that field will be visible on selection screen. Whichever field you want to make it visible on selection screen, then for that you have to write an annotation @UI.selection field for so and so field. Then that field will be visible on selection screen. So this is a technique and easiest technique to achieve reporting kind of concept. Yeah. Okay, next down. I hope you got some idea now.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Vijay. Madhuri here. Vijay, where we are going to write this code in which tool, right? Eclipse or
Which code?
SAP Web ID, right? Right. Just now you showed right UI annotations.
UI annotations we are going to use. We can write it in Eclipse editor. Eclipse
Okay.
editor. Yes, you can use Web ID or Bash tool, because whatever CDS view we create in Eclipse editor, that should be consumed from Web ID or Bash tool. So Web ID Bash tool. Okay, here it contains Odata CDS. Here it contains CP Fury element. Then we can develop into an app like that for reporting. Fury element, that is list report. So the point here is, in Eclipse editor, we can create OData CDS-based service, and that can be exposed as a service, so that the front-end side tools like Web ID, Bash tool, they can use Fury list report element and they can access this service. So it's a combination of two different things we have to use. Got it now, Abdul?
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, next down.
Yeah, hi Vijay, Madhavi here.
Yeah, Madhavi, what's it down?
Yeah, like last time, as I mentioned, in my system, service maintenance is in disabled mode. So I have contacted the basis team. So they have maintained the system alias, even though still that it is in disabled mode. So and also I'm getting the error like HTTP request failed, receiver
No,
failed. Yeah.
the thing
So what
is,
else should I ask basis team to maintain? Please guide
they
me in
need to,
that. Yeah.
I can't guide you. Your company server has your own company systems. You have to talk to them. But what I can say
Okay.
is, basically, these are the things that is required. So SPRO, but don't make any changes in this server. So here you can see there will be settings like administration configuration settings. Here, there will be gateway settings. So in gateway settings, there will be something like the service destination, or I can say destination system, EH7. You should have a local system connected to RFC destination. If your SAP network gateway in one system, and if your backend system is in some other system, then this is required. Destination system mapped to system alias with RFC destination. So this SAP gateway settings are required here. In our case, network gateway and SAP backend tables and everything is in the same server. So we are using RFC destination as none with local system alias. In real time, it can be remotely available. That remote RFC destination you have to provide here. And it should be mapped to your system alias. In my case, it is local here. It is none here. Why? Because the network gateway component add-on and the ECC backend database tables, everything lies in the same box. So RFC destination is none, and we have created a local system alias. Okay, so this should be available. This is one setting, and then there will be another setting like this one. Okay, here itself. So here you need to manage SAP system aliases here. System aliases also should be managed here in this. So manage SAP system alias if you want to create OData services. So in our case, you can see the local system alias, it is mapped to something like system ID EH7 with some client number. So this configuration also should be available here in managed SAP system aliases. And not only these two things, there will be other things like single sign-on access, like logon ticket, those type of things they have to configure. Not only just these two things. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Vijay.
So in your case, you will be using your company server. I am not aware of what is your RFC destination, what is your connection property. So I'll not be able to explain in detail. But these are the two screenshots that should be available. You can cross check once again in your system. One is manage SAP system aliases in SPRO, and then connection to that gateway. SAP gateway settings in SPRO. First, make sure that these are properly configured. And not only that, here you can see there is one thing, gateway must be active here. Okay, let me go to SPRO. In SPRO, you can see. So here you can see this SAP gateway should be active. That's also one thing that you need to cross check once again. SAP gateway is now currently active. So you have to check whether that is active or not. Sometimes when you run the service will be unavailable. If the gateway is inactive, then the service will be unavailable when you execute the service. So that type of problems you can avoid, and you can cross check here. So right now the gateway is active. That also you can check. Let me save it. Okay, that also you need to check. Apart from that, they need to properly maintain RFC destination with proper connection properties of your company server. The connection properties are mismatching, then also you will face a problem. So there are different reasons here. Okay, so you have to go one by one. You have to checklist this one, cross check, and go according to this. Yeah, next down.
Thank you.
Any other doubt? Any other doubt related to today's session or yesterday's session? Hello students, can you hear me? Can you see my screen?
Hi Vijay, Lakshman here.
Yeah, Lakshman, what's the doubt?
Yeah, I'm trying to get the XML generated to test the metadata for a test Odata, but I'm not able to get it. Could you tell me how do we do that?
No, what exactly you're trying to do? You're testing.
I created a Odata service.
Okay.
I generated the artifacts.
Okay.
And after that, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, today also you show me the XML, right?
Okay, so here what we do is we are going to do that again. We are going to create the actual project. Yesterday, day before yesterday, we were just trying to deal with the basics, what type of screens available and how we do it. But step by step, we are going to create a project, then we are going to do it. But here, the only thing is you have to select entity set, whichever entity set you want to use for fetching the data. That entity set has to be selected. And by default, it is going to display output in XML here, because get entity set internally contains the select query. That select query will fetch data, and that data is displayed here by default in XML format.
And do we need to register the service over here, or by default?
Of course, you have to register. Of course, you have to register. So when we create a project, in that process, you will understand how to register. You have to, if the project is newly created, you can see this is a new project here. If I click on register, then you'll get this screen. So that service will be registered for this so-and-so project with underscore SRV. Okay, so here you have to click on register option, And then here you have to select your package in real time and then continue. So that's how the service gets activated, and then you can go for gateway client. So here now the service is registered. The registration status is now in green color. Then you can go to gateway client and you can test your service. If the properties, like as I was talking to Madhavi, if system alias is not properly configured, if gateway settings is not properly configured, if gateway itself is not active, or if the RFC destination is not having proper connection properties, if anything is wrong in these things, then automatically you will face a problem here. Then this service registration will fail. You will not get this button itself is disabled. Okay, so that's what Madhavi was talking about. So whenever any of these things, system alias or gateway settings or activation of gateway or RFC destination properties, if any of these things goes wrong, then the register option itself is disabled in your SCGW. So you cannot proceed further. You can't go to gateway client for testing also unless it is registered and activated. Okay, so let me just write here as a conclusion. If any of the above 4 settings are not done properly, then the register option is disabled. So, which means we cannot activate Odata, we cannot test Odata, we cannot consume in the front end also. Though you have developed a project with a service, but we cannot access from front end UI5 query also unless the service is registered and activated.
Got it. Yeah. Thanks, Vijay. Thank you.
So these two are interrelated. Okay, just go through that. I think you're talking about your company server, right? Or our server?
That's true. Yes. No, my company server. Yeah.
Your company server. That's what. So you have to talk to your basis administrator and manage all these things. What I'll do is I'll try to forward one document related to administration settings also, so that you can get some idea, especially related to these things. I'll forward it to everyone. Don't worry.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Vijay. Thank you.
Yeah. Next down.